Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I'm here with an endgame lesson. Well, I can see you guys getting a little bit upset saying, show us those beautiful attacking games, show us that, swashbuckling game by the people playing at the World Cup. Why endgame lessons? Well, sometimes you have to do your endgames. They are going to be very useful for you. And I promise you, if you stick with me through this lesson, you're going to learn something really special. Okay, the position which we have on the board right now is between Adams, who's white, and Aravindh Chidambaram, who's black. And you would know that Aravindh played amazingly well to knock out Adams in the first round of the World Cup. But this was the critical position which they had reached in the 7th game of their match. And if Adams would have won this, he's a pawn up here, he would have got the lead in the match. But Aravindh played amazingly well. Rather than me showing you what happened here, let's have a look at a video that was shown in the live broadcast.
It was wrong, yeah. The best was actually leave the pawn on h2 for potential
f5 is just a draw. f5 is just a draw. Rook takes e5. Yeah, this is what he has blundered. Takes, check,
it was a good effort,
take the rook, take on f5, king f5, black has the opposition. That's brilliant. King f5. And very fast calculation by the Indian guy. Yeah?
Oh, Aravindh,
yeah,
he deserves it, honestly.
That's so amazing. I mean, the moment when he can calculate something, how fast he is.
Oh, yeah.
And it is draw number 7.
So you saw what happened there. Aravindh played really amazingly well to hold the draw. He had just 5 seconds on his clock, but yet he kept his presence of mind, and after f5 found this really good move. Rook into e5, takes, check, king f4, and takes, king f7, and this is just a draw because black has the opposition. This led me to start thinking whether Aravindh had actually studied this endgame before, or did he find it on the board. Now I'll have to ask him this question after the World Cup, but for now I feel that this is an endgame which he had already studied before, which he could recollect during the game, and we will try to look at this position exactly over here. You know, this is 4 versus 3. And white has these pawns like this, black has his pawns on f7, g6, h5, and this structure has to be studied and you have to understand what's going on. Now objectively this is a draw, but there's a very famous game between Piket and Kasparov that was played in this very structure, and it ended in Kasparov losing with these 3 pawns. So let's have a look at how that went. So this is the position between Jeroen Piket, who is white, and Garry Kasparov, who is black. This was an internet game. It was 60 minutes per side, so pretty serious game. And I'm going to show you what is the best defensive formation for black here. So let's say it's black to move here. I would say you can put your rook to d7. And when white tries to come with king h3, h4, you just play king to h6. So something like, let's say, king g7, king h3, rook d7, king h4, and king h6. If you get this position, there is really no way that white can break through here. Okay, it's very difficult to make even some progress. Let's imagine that white is able to place his rook on c7 now. Then you play, say, rook e8, stopping e6, king h3, rook goes to e6, king h4, and rook a6. Now this is some kind of a passive defense, but it leads to exactly where Aravindh came, in the game. We'll be coming back to Aravindh's game. So rook e7 now, threatening e6 at some point. You can just go back, king f8, even that should be okay. Rook b6 waiting, and the point I wanted to show here is that if you play e6, now this is one very important defensive position which you should look at. It is important for you not to go into this pawn endgame, as we shall see later. This is lost, but here black to move and draw. Well, it would be very nice if you found the move king to f6, well done, attacking the rook, and if rook takes, king e6, and you've just simplified the position further and reached closer to a draw. Okay, so in order for white to make progress, he comes in with his king further, and now you can still wait in this position with rook to a6, but a good technique would be rook to b5, you know, on the 5th rank now, not on the 6th rank, but rook a6 still draws, and the point is that after e6 you give a check, king h4, and now what do you play? You're right, king to f6 draws. There's also another interesting point which I want to make, is that if you keep waiting on the 6th rank, let's say after h3, rook b6, h4, g4, takes, rook a6. Now this is becoming very risky. This is where you should not get into. This is now lost position, because after f5 white is winning. He's going to get in f6 and he's going to push the king out, and it's going to be some kind of a mating attack. So here, when this position is reached, it's important to play like Aravindh did. I hope you got the move now. It's not rook a6 but rook to b5, because now if e6 is not possible, it's pinned, and if you play f5, what's the move? Rook takes e5, well done, and then you take f6, king f4, take, and we saw this in the video, and this is why I showed you the video. It makes an impression on your mind and you remember it for a longer period of time. Okay, but if you are not into passive defense like rook a6, rook b6 and stuff like this, I would recommend even rook b5 here, which is a good move. And the point is very simple, that if white wants to make any progress, he must play f5 here, because otherwise you can just say again the same thing, g4 takes, wait, and then this is going to happen. So white says, well, I'm going to first play f5, and now this trick is not really going to work because there are many more pawns on the board. So you come here and this is just a losing endgame for black. So here you have to be smart and you must take g into f5 here, g into f5, and then you go when white plays e6. Now how should black defend this position? Again, a critical way. By the way, if you play king into f5, this is just a draw. There is no way to make progress in this position. You can just keep waiting with your rook. Okay, so what do you do here? Now, after e6, how should black make the draw? Well done if you found the move f4. f4 check, and after king into f4, you're 2 pawns down, but now you're 1 pawn down, you're losing your f7, but there is king f6, and after rook f7, king e6 is just a draw. So you must always remember that when white is going e6, you should have the option of meeting it with king f6. Okay, so this is some basic defensive techniques that I wanted to show you. The safest, as we all now know, is to keep like this. Keep your rook on the 7th, so it's guarding the pawn, and stop the black king from coming further. But if you are unable to, and if the white rook joins in, then you must go to the 6th rank, wait there, and at the right moment you could keep waiting, but coming to the 5th rank ensures a sure shot draw. Okay, but Kasparov somehow didn't do that. He first went rook d3. Okay, it's still fine. King h3. And now he played rook e3, which is again a dubious move. He can just go rook d7 and play this, what we have discussed. But he says he wants to put his rook behind the e pawn, and this is dangerous. Here already white should have tried this position is winning now, by the way, because white can go rook to c7, attacking the pawn, and then after king g7, he has king to h4. And the point is, you want your rook to come back here and do the 6th rank or the 5th rank defense, but unfortunately every time it is met with the move e6. And this is the big problem that you are facing. So that's the reason why you should have begun with the move over here, rook to c7, chaining the pawn. By the way, there is one small point which I think is interesting to note, is that here if I play rook to a3, e6, because that's the only way. If you play, by the way, king g5 here, then you are already after rook a5 in the drawing variation. So e6, and now I was thinking about this move king to f6. The point is that if you take e into f7, I go back king g7, and again this position is not so clear. So actually it was really not so simple. I have a feeling that this may not be winning for white. Well, I have to make this addendum here because I felt that this position after e6, king f6, e into f7, king g7 was drawish, but no, it's not, because after queens take and king g5, white is completely winning. And so what I mixed up was that in a position like this, if let's say the white king was on h3 here, in this position, if white king is on h3, and here we reach the same position and white plays e6, then here this idea with king f6, ef, king g7, king h4, rook a5, this leads to a drawish variation. So this is what I mixed up, and just shows you how complicated it is to mix up things. Just one move behind, king is on h3, and you sort of forget it. And so this was a small addendum from my end. Okay, so that could have been the best defense, but in the game he played king to h4, not rook c7. And now can you find the best defense for black? Yeah, the right move is king to h6, stopping king from coming in, and after rook c7 you have the nice little move rook e2, threatening a mate, and after h3. Now if you go king h3, then after king g7, here white plays the move rook to b7. Now it looks some kind of a zugzwang, because if you move the rook from here, then the king comes in. If you move the rook this way, then e6 comes in. But what happens is that you can play the move g5 here. This is a powerful move, and then after fg you can play king g6, and it's a draw. Also there is another way you can play king g8, and earlier I thought this position was winning for white, but then I realized that it is not. King h4, only way to make some progress, rook h2, king g5, and it looks really dangerous, because now you must play for black the move, only move to hold over here is h4. Well done if you found this move. Any other move means white gets in e6, fe6, king g6, then he wins the other pawn. I mean, this is or even the king joins in with king f6, this is losing. So h4, and here you play the move e6. This is the best try, and I had analyzed, if you take king g6, there's a mate, king f8, king f6, and again there is a mate, so you must play here king g8, and after g4, rook f2, f5, this is known as the umbrella method, g5, this is winning for white. He's going to give a check, and then g5, g6, and it's a mate over here. Okay, but what I had missed in my analysis is that after h4, e6, h into g3 is a powerful move, and the point being that after e7, you give rook h5 check. Only move is king g4. If you go king f6, this is a mate. So king g4 here, and then f5, king g3, king f7, and it's a draw. So that was a draw. So I'm coming to this conclusion that in this position, even white with king h4 cannot win. So this was possible to play. Okay, but here after rook e2, we looked at king h3. What if h3 is played? Then basically there are many ways in which you can hold, but I think the easiest one could be rook to e4. Here rook into e5. Okay, this is just a draw because you can't take, there's a mate, and if here rook into e5 is the drawing move. Okay, wonderful. So it was a little bit of complex variations there, but just try to understand this. This is more like a theoretical endgame. I'm trying to give you all the knowledge related to it. Now king h4 was played in the game, and here, as we said, king h6 was the best defense. The variations we looked were after this. But now we look at king g7, which was played by Kasparov in the game. And here once again white erred with king g5. This was a bad move. He should have played rook c7, rook e2 and king g5, which is winning. So king g5, why is it bad? Because we know that whenever we get a chance, we must shift to the side to ensure the 5th and 6th rank defense. So rook a3 here, rook b3 here would have done the deal, but rook e1 was played by Kasparov. So you can see he made a lot of mistakes, and after rook c7, we once again come to a winning position for white. Now let's have a look at this a little more closely. After rook c7, what are the options for black? So first thing is that white has a very clear plan now. He wants to come to e7. If black goes king f8, he has king f6. Okay. And if black does nothing, I go e6, and then after rook into e6, fe6, this is just winning pawn endgame for white. We'll have a look at it very carefully. So if white plays here the move rook to e2, then we go rook e7, and now there are two moves. One is rook to a2 and the other one is rook to e4. Okay, so let's look at rook e4. Now rook e4, what do you play? e6 as planned, and you must take, and now this pawn endgame is very concrete. In order to win, what should white start with? h3. Well done if you found this move. King f7, king h6, king f6, and now to make progress you must play g4. If black takes, then you take, and this is just losing, say king f7, g5. So black must go h4, and now it's some kind of a zugzwang for white, because if he goes here, then g5 and black would win the game. So he must push his pawn. But this is really strong. After king f5, king g7, takes. We have a race on our hand. Push. Oops, don't bring the king. Push the pawn to queen, and now check. King e3, queen e6. The queens are forcibly exchanged. And after king f2, take, king g5. This is completely winning for white. So you can say that after rook e4, e6, we forcibly land in that king and pawn endgame, which is winning for white. Okay, just revise this thing again. Now, instead of rook e4, the other move which we looked at was rook to a2 in this position. And here, white has a powerful way to win. You shouldn't be playing e6 here because of, yes, well done, rook to a5 check, pushing the king back, and king f6. Good job. So you must start with, what is the move here for white to win? F5. Kudos if you found this move. And now after gf, e6, h4, rook into f7, king g8, king f6. This is how Kasparov lost the game. Now, just the rook moves here, or just move it to the side, and then e7 comes in. There's a check and white wins. So we had one more move to look at over here after this, that was rook to e4. You know, we looked at rook e2 here and we saw that rook e7 and e6 coming in. But what if rook e4? Now if you play the move rook to e7, it's not the correct move. Why? Can you tell me? Yes, rook to a4. Well done if you found this move. The point is e6, as we've seen, doesn't work because of check and king f6. And f5, which you wanted to play, actually loses to rook g4 mate. Okay, so this is just a checkmate, so you must be very careful about it. So you see how small little things also affect in this, like over here you have to be very careful. Rook e7 turns out to be a bad move because it allows rook to a4. So what you do is you play rook to b7, and the point being that after, let's say you go rook to a4 over here, now e6, as we have mentioned here, should be good, but it's not enough for winning because check, king h4, king f6, e into f7, and we've seen this position before. It seems like black is holding a draw over here, theoretically. I can even analyze it a bit more, like rook e7, king f8, rook e5 here, and somehow there are excellent drawing chances. So here in this position, after rook to e4, you must make a waiting move with rook to b7. And after rook a4, as we have seen, there is a very special way in which white wins. Not e6, something else. What do you think it is? g4. This is the move that is suggested in Dvoretsky's Endgame manual. It was found by Victor Bologan. And g4, the point is after h into g4, you play f5, g into f5, e6, and white wins, because next comes rook into f7, king f6, and he wins just like Piket did against Kasparov. So this was a very tricky try, you know. After here you play rook to e4, stopping ideas, but here white must make a waiting move, not rush into rook e7. You make a waiting move, and then if white waits, now you go rook to e7, because e6 is a big threat, and this is winning for white because e6 is coming up, and now black can no longer play this because of f5, gf, e6. This is what we have seen. But the point to make clear is the rook, if it was on the 4th rank over here, f5 is never really possible because there is a checkmate. Because it's on the 2nd rank, f5 is possible. Okay, so these were some very, very delicate lines that I wanted to discuss with you about this endgame, so you get a very firm idea of what is going on here. So let's just recap very quickly what we have seen so that you have a good understanding. In this position, it's very important that black gets his rook from b3 and tries, or a3, and tries to organize the 5th or the 6th rank defense. Okay, if he remains here like what Kasparov did, then he is losing because of all the ideas we noted, like if rook e2 you can go rook e7 and e6, if rook e4 you can make a waiting move and force the rook back and then push forward with rook e7. That's how you win. Now let's go back and have a look at Aravind's game and how he defended. So now coming back to the Aravindh game, this was the position. Last move was f4 by Adams, And then Arvind played king e7. I think if he was well versed, he would have played king g7 and rook c7. But in time pressure, it was a rapid game, 10 plus 10. It's never easy. So king e7, rook a2, rook b3. But one thing which Arvind did really much better than Kasparov was that he kept his rook on b3 and didn't go behind the e-pawn. He knew that he must defend from the side. I don't know if he remembered the analysis, but I'm sure he's looked at this endgame and somehow it helped him. King g7, king to g5. Now just having a look at rook a7, we know that we can do the 5th rank defense, or the first you have to go rook b6, and then after rook e7, okay, you can just push him back, king g5, and now you can do the 5th or the 6th rank defense. Both look good. I can wait for some time, and now it's very important not to keep waiting, but rook b5, okay, which will come to the game. Okay, in the game, Adams went king g5, rook b7, rook a3, rook c7, h3, rook c5. He's already playing it in the right way. Now rook a7, we reach the position, stay on the 5th rank. g4, if rook e7, rook a5, f5, as we have seen, what should we do now? Not take on e5 because the pawns have not yet been exchanged. The h pawns are still on the board, so you mustn't exchange. So gf, e6, and now f4. Well done if you found this and remembered it. Draw. Okay, so in the game, Adams went g4, takes, rook c5, rook e7, rook a5. Well done. And after f5, now Arvind took on e5, takes, check. So what looked like a brilliant defensive effort by Arvind, and which truly is, I felt he's also studied it somewhere, because to find this over the board without knowing this endgame is really very difficult. But with his knowledge, you know, he was able to save the half point at the right moment. So that's my request to you guys, all those who are aiming to be top players, wanting to improve their chess, study the endgames, and nothing better than Dvoretsky's endgame manual here. I'm going to put a link of this book. It's available in the Chess Base India shop. Get this book, read it. You know, an entire page is dedicated to this endgame. I had studied it back in 2013. I updated my analysis and saved it in Chess Base. But this book came very handy, very useful, because Dvoretsky has analyzed this endgame. And you know, many times people think, what will happen if I study the endgame? Well, for a simple fact, Arvind qualified to the second round because he saved this endgame. And one big benefit, of course, apart from beating Adams and, you know, gaining such a huge experience, gaining in confidence, what he also gained was that instead of winning just $6,000, if you go to the second round of the World Cup, you get $10,000. And this, you know, sort of is my philosophy, that if you read and if you invest in trying to improve your knowledge, then you will get that back in terms of prize money or winning some tournaments and so on. So that's all for now. We analyzed this very important theoretical endgame, 4 versus 3. Keep in mind Kasparov, Piket, Kasparov, but now also Adams and Aravindh. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you so much.